Everybody knows about the Bugatti Veyron, not everybody knows about the Grand Sport Vitesse. So the Vitesse is basically the convertible version of the Bugatti Veyron Supersport, which is the car that broke the world speed record back in 2010. So overall there are 450 Veyrons, all of them left-hand drive. That includes the coupes, the roadsters, the Vitesses, the Supersports, all the special edition one-offs. That's all in the 450. But the Grand Sport Vitesse was one of the very last Veyrons to be built. It was built between 2013 and 2015. So it features the same engine as the Supersport, which is the 8-litre, 16-cylinder quad turbo that produces 1,200 brake horsepower. The Supersport actually just had its record broken by the Koenigsegg Agera RS, but the Vitesse is still, to this day, the fastest production roadster in the world. So the main difference with the Supersport is its removable hardtop roof, which is also panoramic when it's on the car. Unfortunately, you can't stash the roof while you're driving, but it does come with a foldable fabric roof, which basically attaches onto the car, and it's almost like an umbrella, just in case you get caught up in the rain. So this Vitesse is a very unique example. It's the only car in the world with this particular spec. First of all, it comes with a fully exposed carbon fibre body, which only a very small handful of Veyrons are built with. We believe this was about a £150,000 option. But the colour scheme is what really makes this car stand out. Some people who know about this car have labelled it the Tiffany edition. This is because the original owner had requested this specific colour, which is associated with the Tiffany & Co. jewellery company. The original invoice actually states the colour is Tiffany green, but the car was never actually commissioned by Tiffany, so as far as we're concerned, we wouldn't call it the Tiffany edition. The car was actually offered to us through the Romans International website. It was an email inquiry from a representative of the owner of the car. And we do get a lot of these type of emails, especially when we're talking these type of ultra-exclusive hypercars. More often than not, the person contacting us doesn't have any direct involvement with the car, in which case it's just a complete waste of time normally. But we quickly realised this was not one of those situations and that this was a very serious proposition. So we found out the car belonged to a Chinese businessman. The car had been delivered to Hong Kong back in 2014. It had been kept in storage ever since and never taken out. We believe this was partly due to the huge import taxes at the time, bringing a car from Hong Kong into China. So the owner couldn't use it, and he was keen to sell. He'd heard of Romans International as a trustworthy dealership who travelled the world to buy cars of this calibre, and so he made contact. We decided we wanted to buy the car. We sold a Veyron Grand Sport Vitesse the previous year in 2017, so we knew there was demand out there for them. Veyrons are becoming increasingly important collectors' cars, and being a delivery mileage Vitesse in such a unique specification, we just knew this was something we had to buy. So I negotiated the deal. We got to a price we were comfortable with. The owner was happy with the agreement. And I flew out the next day to Hong Kong with my father, who's the owner of Romans, booked a room at the Mandarin Oriental, and we were picked up from the hotel in the morning and taken to the car. So it was located in a storage unit in this crazy underground car park. It was an absolute maze, like hundreds of garage doors everywhere. We eventually pulled up to the right spot. Up came the garage door, and there it was, just looking unbelievable. A totally preserved, virtually untouched Grand Sport Vitesse. It's a real mixture of emotions. There's a lot of adrenaline and excitement to buy such a special car, but at the same time it's pretty nerve-wracking. This is a hugely valuable car worth millions of pounds. We're in a country we don't know that well. We're dealing with people we hadn't dealt with before. If anything went wrong, it could be very difficult to recover. We also didn't have a customer lined up for it at the time. We knew we were taking a massive risk, but that's the game we're in. We had to back ourselves. We'd like to think we know the Veyron market better than most, and we're lucky to have the funds available to buy a car of this value. It's very rare that a Vitesse comes up for sale, so we knew we needed to act fast and secure the deal, but at the same time make sure we're totally covered, make sure everything is as it should be. We're fortunate enough to have a great relationship with the Bugatti factory, so we had the car, the owner properly checked out, we did all our due diligence, and once we'd seen the car, we arranged for payment and collection. We had it flown back to the UK, so it was a very smooth transaction. So the whole sales team are always excited when a car like this arrives in stock. There's a real buzz around the showroom, but we were a little bit nervous about the colour combination. We knew it was going to be a case of you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. But there was no denying this was a one-off, unique opportunity. So we obviously started contacting a few of our existing customers. When the car went on our website and social media, we had interest from all over the world. But we ended up giving priority to someone who we do a lot of business with, who has an amazing collection in the UK, and we just knew this would be the perfect addition. Thankfully, he came in, saw it, and loved it. So the Veyron in the last few years has sort of entered into a new category within the market. For almost a decade, it was considered the ultimate hypercar. I'd probably say it initially appealed to the people that want the latest thing. You used to see a lot of them driving around town in London, Monaco, Porto Banús. It was a real showstopper of a car. And it still is, but it definitely appeals now to a different sort of customer. It's no longer the hot car. You've got the LaFerrari, the 918, the P1, of course, the Chiron. So the Veyron quickly moved into being more of a classic. The Veyron has now been around for more than 10 years. Prices bottomed out back in about 2012, 2013, when you could pick up a decent Veyron for about £600,000. Since then, they've sort of been creeping back upwards, and it's now almost impossible to find a Veyron for under £1 million. For a super sport or a Vitesse, now talking between £2 and £3 million. So it's proven to be an amazing investment, and we strongly believe it will continue to be so. There's every chance in another 10 years' time we'll be talking about a £4 or £5 million Veyron. It's the most important car of its generation without a doubt, probably followed closely by the Enzo, but it's the Veyron that really changed the game and made history. And it's still the car that every kid walks into our showroom and wants to know if we've got a Veyron. People sometimes forget that each Veyron costs more than £5 million to make. So it was made by Volkswagen to lose money, to lose millions of pounds, purely to make a statement of creating the ultimate car. Unlike most hypercars, it's actually very comfortable and easy to drive. Combine that with a truly iconic design, unmistakable styling, all the records it's broken. We truly believe the Veyron is the most important car since the McLaren F1.